If you couldn't hear what those people in the street in Portland were saying, it was no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Welcome to America Talks Live Hour 2, where our most important program content comes from you. Your questions, comments, and observations phoned in to 1-877-639-7629. That's 1-877-Newsmax. Now, you and I just took a look at what was going on in Portland last night. Make no mistake, that was not a protest, that was a riot directed at President-elect Donald Trump and those who support him. So, who are these people doing this? Just the leftover Soros-paid agitators? We will explore the reasons behind this agitprop in just a moment. But first, Miranda Khan joins us from the Newsmax TV newsroom for a news update on this Veterans Day. Miranda?
Yeah, thanks, JD. It may be just a matter of time before we know who will be in Donald Trump's cabinet. The president-elect tweeted that he would make a decision soon. One person under consideration, Dr. Ben Carson.
I personally feel that you can do a lot from outside, but if that were the only way that it could be done, you know, obviously I'm going to do what needs to be done to assist.
Carson may reportedly serve as Trump's Secretary of Education or Health and Human Services. And Trump will conduct his first interview with 60 Minutes after he won the election. CBS News announced that Leslie Stahl will interview the president-elect and his wife Melania, along with Trump's 4 oldest children. That interview is set to air this Sunday night. And the country might have yet another Clinton in Washington. According to the New York Post, Chelsea Clinton may run for Congress. Chelsea is being eyed to replace the seat of 79-year-old New York Democratic Congresswoman Nita Lowry after she retires. For much more on these stories, please visit Newsmax.com. I'm Miranda Khan. Back to you, JD.
Thanks very much, Miranda. We would be remiss if we did not say to everyone who has worn the uniform of this country, either in peacetime or in times of conflict, thank you for your service on this Veterans Day 2016. Now, let's talk about, it's not really street theater, it's a kind of protest in the streets from coast to coast that causing some problems here in this interregnum between the election and the inauguration of a new president. And here to discuss these issues with us, our panel, right here next to me on the anchor desk, former CIA analyst Lisa Ruth, and busily writing with his distinctive tie on there, former New York Police Department Special Investigator Michael Solomon. Michael, of course, the author of the book, The Conversion Prophecy. And I will tell you that last night, Donald Trump took to Twitter, and at first read, these seem to be very different messages. For example, here is one of his presidential-elect tweets. We just had a very open and successful presidential election. Now professional protesters incited by the media are protesting. Very unfair. Then later, another tweet comes from the president-elect, and this tweet reads as follows. Love the fact that the small groups of protesters last night have passion for our great country. We will all come together and be proud. Lisa Ruth, you've studied intelligence. You've taken a look at messages, communiques, and some things from other countries. Was the president-elect rethinking his position or reaching out to identifying two different groups that may be part of what's going on right now?
You know, the first analysis of these, obviously this has got quite a bit of attention, is I think the first one was really his initial knee-jerk reaction to, oh, come on, really? And then somebody pointed something out to him probably. I think he is putting together some strong advisors. And it is true, having lived overseas, this is a little bit out of hand, but we do have a great country where you can express different views.
But here is the difference. And when this was going on in Portland, and we're looking at it through hindsight rather than real time.
Sure.
The other limitation you have with social media such as Twitter is there's a limit on words, a limit on characters, so you can't get a lot down. But Michael Solomon, I look at this, and I think about a guy who used to be in this business and then made his time talking about the First Amendment and protecting those rights. Fred Friendly, who was the former president of CBS News. And Fred Friendly, certainly no conservative, but Fred said this, the right to do something doesn't make it right.
Exactly.
And you look at last night, that was not a protest. That was a full-blown riot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and these are the same people that were out there during the economic meetings we had in Oregon, Washington years ago in Seattle. And these people, they would riot on anything. If McDonald's took the cheese out of a quarter pounder, they would be out there demonstrating. I mean, they're looking for excuses. And, you know, it's one thing to demonstrate in the streets. You want to carry signs, you want to scream, you want to yell, that's fine. But when you're breaking windows and you're starting fires, you're destroying people's personal property, their vehicles, and throwing bricks through their store windows and everything else, you got yourself a problem. And that's criminal activity, and they should be charged to the full extent of the law. And that's it. It's that simple. It's that simple.
You know, as we're sitting here, I just think about the Beatles song, Revolution. We all want to change the world, but when you're talking about violence, and to paraphrase the song, that's when it's time to step back and go, wait a minute. Are you really interested in making a change, or are you interested in hurting somebody? This topic elicits a lot of interest from coast to coast. And on the phone with us at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-639-7629, we welcome in Andrea from Southfield, Michigan. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, JD. I just want to say, first of all, this is a great day, a great year. Our future is bright. I'm so glad that President-elect Trump won. I'm one of those Christians that prayed, and I know it was prayer that did this because it took a miracle. But I wanted to say, I wonder why the media or nobody has said, why won't Obama or the Attorney General come out and denounce these protests and riots and, you know, calm the storm down? You know, where they at? And nobody's even asking or demanding it to be done. I think they should come out and President Obama should come out, since we want to be all together, and make an announcement. Why won't he do that?
You know, Andrea, that's a very interesting question. I've got my own theory, and I'd be interested to hear what our panel has to say. And my point is this. You look back at Mr. Obama's professional career, such as it is. After law school, his first job is as a community organizer. And in the realm of Saul Alinsky, community organizer, when you strip away that nice name, it is street agitator. His job was to go foment unrest in certain communities, to stoke people up, to have them take to the streets. And Michael Solomon, these guys in charge of the current administration, whether it's the outgoing president or his despicable attorney general, they are Alinskyites who will never do anything but give rhetorical cover to these hoodlums who go out in the street.
Where's Hillary in all of this? Where's she? Because she's part of that Alinsky crowd, and we know it. It's been his whole administration when this happens. If you look at everything that's gone on in this country, in police shootings, in other riots, and other things, he just sits back and throws up his hands. And, you know, he said, well, that's the right of the people, because I'm the big constitutional attorney.
Well, they go beyond that. Lisa Ruth, we had a situation after Dallas and Black Lives Matter where Attorney General Lynch says, we appreciate the goals of the protesters. Right. You know, this bunch, and I just got to ask you, to the extent you can talk about it, when you take a look at foreign powers being involved in this, you know, we used to think agitprop came from Soviet satellites and all that. We've got homegrown stuff, or at least home finance stuff, by George Soros.
Sure.
Now, we can go back and trace the money this guy has and how he's pumped it into the left and actually sows the seeds of dissension. How can that guy get away with it? Just rich enough?
And that is the answer. And I also think, you know, when you look at the First Amendment, I think it's critical to remember the Constitution specifically says your rights stop when we start impinging on the common good. This impinges on the common good, right? That's the first thing. In terms of Andrea's question, frankly, I think that there's a piece of them that are, of them being Obama, Hillary Clinton, that are flattered by this.
Oh, I'll tell you what happened to me. My final campaign for Congress, I was running against a guy who was the mayor of a college town, or had been. And he was supposed to be this kindly grandpa. I'm going in to do the debate. It is just out of Alinsky's rule book. They get a couple of guys, pretty big guys, probably football players, getting ready and shouting in my face as I'm walking in. And there's the guy sitting there, grinning like a Cheshire cat. The Democrat Party and the advent of Alinsky's rules for radicals joined together. That's why they've drifted further left, and that's why you see this stuff even in congressional campaigns, not much less presidential campaigns. Let me do this. Before we get that, let's get a question from Buffalo, New York, and Lynn, who is calling in at 1-877-Newsmax. Hi, Lynn.
Good afternoon. Thank you for everything you're doing with regard to this campaign. And I just want to say that I'm so in agreement with the prior caller who said, where is Hillary? Where is Obama? Where are all the people that are, supposed to be speaking up to try to help maintain some peace in the country? And I just want to say, at work, I've had a girl say to me, well, I just don't have a president for the next 4 years. And I really have to say, when Obama went into office, I wasn't thrilled, but I said, he's the president-elect. I'm going to support him. Maybe he's going to make the country come together. Well, the opposite has happened and is still happening, and no one seems to see that. These people that are protesting, if they had jobs to get up to and go to, if they had to work full-time and go to school like I did, pay for their own college, they wouldn't have the time to come in and do what they're doing right now.
Lynn, I'm with you 100%. These are pampered, spoiled brats. If they had to work for a living, they sure as heck wouldn't be out there in the street. You wanted to ask a question, make a comment,
Two
Michael.
things I want is, one, let's look at these people who are out there writing. How many of them actually voted? How many actually expressed their opinion in this election? Probably very little of them. And the other thing is something that the caller just said, talking about people. I had somebody in my development. I live in a gated community. I had somebody they
very quickly,
crying,
about 20
crying.
seconds.
They were saying, what am I going to tell my grandchildren? I says, what do you mean you're going to tell your grandchildren? She says, we're not going to be able to bring people into this country anymore. We're not going to be able to bring the immigrants in here and make this country great again. I says, what are you talking about? She says, how are we going to bring these people in? I says, why do you live in a gated community?
Yeah, it's the real abstract notion of what happens. The limousine left has given way to the left that can't quite connect the dots.
Right.
And the problem is you have had a dominant media culture, a corporate media, hell-bent on open borders, hell-bent on changing this country, and the election of Donald Trump says, stop, enough. Now, we're just getting started. We're not going to stop. We're going to step aside. More of your calls, more with our panel. It's America Talks Live, and we welcome your calls at 1-877-Newsmax. Stay with us. We'll be right back.